Hey. Good evening, man. I hope everybody is doing well out there. Hope everybody is staying safe. Man, today is Tuesday. I got my boy Chad Lusche, Mr. 900 Global, one of my brothers here. Happy to have him on. Like you said, hit that share button. Do whatever you got to do, man. Let's get this going. I'm trying to get this stream to walking, and you guys are helping me out with this big time. So I'm going to bring my boy Chad Lusche on. Big Chad, what's up, brother?
How are you, Mr. Brandon? It's great to see you, my friend.
Oh, dude, I am awesome, man. Trying to stay safe. Can't wait to get back in the bowling alley.
Right? I was going to say, I think you and I were supposed to be pairing up here in the next couple weeks, but unfortunately, this little virus thing has kind of detoured that until October.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, but hey, wait. Need a large margarita. You had a couple of this crazy, like Brian Gonzalez. Look, if you want to see what this guy's talking about, look at this, man. Crazy. But no, what's going on, though, man? Oh, look at you. You're ready, huh? Dude, so man, tell the viewers, man, like I said, man, this is my boy here, Chad from Vegas. Tell them a little bit about yourself, bro.
Well, yeah, I currently live in Vegas. Here in about a month, though, it's going to be relocating actually down to Arizona. I actually got a job down there with Rural Metro Fire. So I'm going to be going down there to play a little bit of paramedicine going down that way. But outside that, pretty much a huge bowling fan, a huge sport person altogether. Done a little bit of everything, played a little bit of arena football. I played a little bit of baseball, play ice hockey, you name it. I think I've played it. So outside that, basketball's not my forte. So if we ever have to shoot out, let's not do free throws or three-pointers. So.
All right, man. So, hey, like I said, hey, guys, shoot your questions to Chad, man. I'm sure he'll be happy to answer them. We're going to start this off, though. Hey, dude, what kind of challenges did you have growing up as a kid?
Well, I mean, there's a couple things that I had growing up as a kid. Couple things with regards to like, I'm going to kind of start back roughly about my freshman year of high school. Basically, my freshman year of high school, there was a lot of adversity. Basically, I had never really played football before and wanted to go out for the team and stuff like that. And I decided that I'm going to try my odds at quarterback. And a bunch of people, were like, hey, you're too big, you're too slow, you can't do this, you can't do that. And that's kind of been a lot of things that have been over the course of the years and stuff. A lot of people always say, hey, you can't do that. You don't want to be thanks, Craig, for saying that the biggest challenge is growing hair. I appreciate you very much, sir. But the whole adversity of you can't do this, you can't do that. Basically it's kind of been one of those things that I've always had to try to go out and prove myself to people. And, I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid to take my lumps here and there. But at the same token, I always believe that unless you actually try and you try to push yourself to achieve those goals, you're never going to know. You're always going to have those doubts. Hey, could I have done this? Hey, could I have done that? Right. Bowling on tour and stuff like that. I mean, I've bowled against those guys, Jason Belmonte, Chris Barnes, Tommy Jones and stuff. And bowling like in the World Series before in the past, people are like, hey, you're not ready. You're not ready. At the same token, yeah, I may not have been ready, but at the same token, I'm going to see where I'm at when I compare myself to those guys. When you start talking about other sports, arena football, stuff like that, people are like, nope, can't do that. Can't do that. Yeah, I never made it to the NFL. I had been looked at as a punter in the Canadian Football League and stuff like that. But at the same token, right. I never made it there. The same token, I work hard for what I try to achieve. And whenever someone says I can't do it, it just makes me want to push that much harder. Not necessarily to say, hey, I'm proving you wrong. But at the same token, I want it to be, hey, I did this even when people believed that I couldn't do it.
Absolutely. Got a question here. You said, who are your bowling idols, past and present?
So a couple of people that I idolized growing up, obviously Tommy Jones, when he was in his young 20s and stuff like that, was kind of that predominant power player type aspect. As I've gotten older, I've actually started kind of looking more towards Chris Barnes and those kinds of guys. Not necessarily they're not going to overpower the lane. They're not going to be the Jason Belmontes playing eighth arrow and stuff like that. But at the same token, you notice the guys that have been doing this for a while, Chris can play straight. Chris can bend it. Chris can, slow roll it. He can play firm. His repertoire in order to succeed on the lanes has been very good. Rick Stillsmith, go a little bit, further back in the day and stuff like that. Rick Stillsmith, very compact, very, he's probably 5'10" on a good day, and I could be a little bit off on that. But at the same token, you watched him and he was able to succeed at nationals or even on, the Masters and stuff like that. He never tried to do too much. He just simply allowed himself to stay within his own game. And obviously it succeeded for him when he won at the Masters and stuff like that. Okay.
So we have another question here. Are you the best looking bald bowler on global staff?
Honestly, I don't know many other people who are bald, who are on staff with us. So I would have to venture to say yes. But at the same token, you're starting to catch up to me there a little bit, my friend.
Hey man, I'm telling you, right now, I call this my COVID cut, man. I normally cut my own hair. I'm letting it grow out right now. Yeah, I'm not even cutting it. Just let it go.
Right.
Yeah. Hey. So what was your number one sport growing up?
As far as the number one sport growing up would probably be football. I was a kicker. I was a punter. And I kind of did it all. My freshman year, I was a quarterback. My sophomore year, I was a cornerback, almost ball. I was a cornerback safety in my sophomore year, and I started kicking the football. And basically, I learned how to punt. I learned how to kick. My senior year, I only punted 8 times all year long, but yet I had a 49-yard average. And I think because I wasn't in a big 5A type school, I got overlooked by a lot of things, at least to play in the college aspect.
Okay.
Do I think I was probably one of the best punters, in the league by far? I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but at the same token, when I look at when it comes to punting and, there's a science behind special teams. And a lot of people say special teams don't, play a big part. Look at how many games are won by, a punter that is smart and where he puts the ball. You get the field goal kickers that win the games in the last seconds. So, outside that, I definitely feel that, football was kind of my first love. Baseball was a real close second, but unfortunately, being a defensive catcher was good, but I couldn't hit the ball for squat. So,
okay. You see the question, are we looking to bowl the New Mexico Open coming in August? I don't know if it's going to be in August because I think they changed the date. I think Steve Mackey did change it. But, yes, I am looking forward to going back.
Yep, and I definitely I haven't seen the date change, but if it has, I'm definitely going to do my darndest to be there and stuff like that. That's probably the tournament that I look forward to most over the entire year. Not only is the staff phenomenal down there with Steve, Diana, and company, but I think it's one of the best ran tournaments across the board, bar none. And not to mention the Pro-Am and the time to bond with people from all across the country and stuff. You can't beat it.
No, you're right. And then you got Craig doing the streaming. So, it's always a plus, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And obviously, getting called Uncle Fester by Steve and who knows what other names that might be forthcoming after this broadcast. But yeah, definitely can't do without it. So,
hey, there you go. What is it that you do for a living?
So I'm currently a paramedic here in Las Vegas. Been in medicine for almost 20 years now. And, with this whole virus thing, it's definitely been a change. I'm used to seeing auto accidents. I'm used to seeing sick people, but this virus has a whole different description to the whole thing. So,
oh yeah. When you see you said it earlier, you bowled professionally.
Mhm.
How was that experience, and what happened to that career going down that path?
So when I started doing it, I think this was back around 2011 was about the first time that I kind of dabbed into it. 2010, 2011. And I bowled the plastic ball tournament that was held in Wheat Ridge, Colorado. And I actually thought qualifying was going to be with plastic ball, so I practiced with plastic and everything else. And short oil has never been my strong suit until recently. Now I feel very comfortable with short oil. But back then, like cheetah, I couldn't play the twig. I couldn't play outside. And I just wasn't – I could hit the hole, but I couldn't carry, and I didn't understand why and stuff like that.
Right.
But as far as the tour side, the national tour is difficult. It's stupid difficult. When people say, hey, I can go bowl with these guys. Hey, look at these guys on TV and stuff like that. They don't quite understand the whole dynamics, the topography, the different styles of play, the different rev rate, the different service combinations. You name it, there's a science behind it.
Right.
And, when you start seeing guys, hey, these guys make a 10-board move here, and all of a sudden they're like, whoa, where'd this come from? And then next thing you know, you're trying to play catch up. Well, you missed 2-3 frames, you're done. It's very hard to stay in that cut. I took a little bit of time off, and I dropped my card for a while, and went out and bowled a couple other amateur type events. And recently I got my card back, and I qualified for the PTQ, for the World Series of Bowling. And on fresh, I did very well, at least to start off with, during the actual World Series, but then the transition game, because I haven't seen that transition happen a lot, at least over the course of time when I bowl in the amateur events, the transition happens so much faster and so much more dynamic. And for me to kind of catch up to that, now that's going to be another learning curve for me. The big reason why, though, I dropped out basically from it is, one, when I was living in Colorado, it was really difficult to go to any event because everything was traveling so far. Even regionals, we had 1 or 2 in Colorado. Outside that, I'm driving 10 to 12 hours to go to a regional, and it just didn't make really a whole lot of sense, to do that. But then when I look at out here in Vegas, when I came out here, there's regionals in Cali, there's regionals in Arizona, there's regionals here. It's a lot more easier and more accessible in order to get to at least the regional side. But then the other side of the coin is, you have the World Series of Bowling that came back to South Point this year. You had the Masters that was at the Orleans. Even when it goes to Reno, that's a 7-hour drive. So at least that's somewhat reasonable, or, an hour flight from Vegas. And the flight airfare out of Colorado versus Vegas is night and day different as well. So when we start looking at that, it just didn't make sense to have my card necessarily in Colorado. And that's why I kind of picked it back up here, because I've done the amateur stuff. I won ABT. I finished 5th at the TAT, so forth, so on. Guess what? Now I want to chase the bigger goals. An Eagle at Nationals. I would like to get, I want to make the TV appearance, on tour. And once you get there, guess what? And then let's work the next step. If I have to run a ladder or something like that, one shot at a time, anything can happen. So.
Okay. Well, it's like I said, seeing this COVID-19 on the front line, which, you're a paramedic, so you see it. Right. What do you say to these people sitting behind the keyboard talking? Is this a hoax?
Honestly, it's not a hoax. The biggest thing is when we start looking at this virus, and I'm going to kind of keep this just FYI, these are my own thought. And, I don't want to say that this is my company or anything like that, because it's not.
Right.
When this virus started coming out, there were people that were getting sick back in December, January, stuff like that. Was it that? Maybe, maybe not. When we start looking at the amount of people who are getting sick, personally, I think this is a little bit more of a bioterrorism type aspect, and then that's just my opinion, because it has mutated, it's changed, and it's really hard to stay on top of. When people are saying, hey, this is going to plateau. Hey, this is going to fizzle out. Hey, we just need heat, this and that. It seems to be changing dynamics with everything. When it was Australia's summer and it's warm, people were still infected down there. When it was cold up north, Minnesota, people were still getting infected. So guess what? It's not a weather type thing. There's another component to it. Some people are unsymptomatic with it. So they don't even know, hey, they have no fever. They don't have nausea or vomiting. They don't feel weak or anything like this, but yet they've had the virus. You know what? They have a great immune system. And that's great. But when we start looking at how does it affect the body, it is nasty. I go to the hospital with patients, and this virus attacks the respiratory drive hardcore. Basically it's a slow suffocation type aspect more than anything else. And to me, that's one of the worst ways to possibly die. It's just being suffocated. There's a lot of people that are on vents, who has passed away from it. I mean, I know elderly are more prone to it, as well as people that have autoimmune diseases, cancer, stuff like that, where the body can't fight it off. But honestly, is it a hoax? By far, it's definitely not a hoax. It is something that, this is worse than the Black Plague. This is worse than swine flu. All these other viruses that we've had over the course. This is really, really bad. So.
Okay. So I guess it's a super regional in Lubbock at the end of June. If it's not canceled, or postponed, are you going to bowl that this year?
Honestly, I do want to get back to Lubbock. I actually ran into Sunday and Jimbo out here in Vegas not too long ago, back in, I think it was around February, right around Super Bowl-ish. And, those guys down there in Lubbock, Jimbo puts his heart and soul into that tournament left and right. And honestly, Lubbock, as far as a regional, they do it right. Same with Holiday back in Colorado, definitely do it right. I haven't been to any of the big super regionals in other places, but Lubbock is definitely one of those places that he packs in for the Pro-Am. There's always lots of people there watching. So when we look at it, yeah, I would definitely love to get back to Lubbock this year. Okay.
I know you were with EBI before you came to Global.
Mm-hmm.
Why the switch?
So there was a few different things. Number one, I've had success. I won a regional with EBI. I was with them for about 5 years. And, the biggest thing I feel that was kind of the downfall, there was kind of two reasons. One, obviously, I didn't do as much as I probably could have, just between work and trying to make an actual living, as well as being a staffer. When people say, hey, you're on staff, it actually takes work. It actually takes effort. It takes time. So when we start looking at that, it's a job in itself. It's not just on the lanes. It's talking to people outside of it. It's doing, the small things that helps a business grow. The same token, I think the other side of it was, and it eventually happened, but there was something going on behind the scenes, i.e. EBI and Brunswick merged. And I think there was, I'm not 100% sure, but at the same token, I feel that the people who knew the merger was potentially coming, i.e. I think that was a few far and in between, they said, hey, we got to cut back staff budgets and stuff like that. And hence, when that occurred, I was, mentioned, or I was told that, unfortunately, I wasn't going to be re-signed and stuff like that, which I understand. It's all a business and whatnot. But at the same token, I was glad that I was given an opportunity with 900, and it paid dividends right away while switching to Global, because 2 weeks later, finished 5th at the TAT, turn around 2 weeks later, win ABT Nationals out here in Vegas. So it definitely wasn't a bad ordeal at all.
No, not at all. All right, here you go. Another question for you from Matt Ridgway. What is your favorite non-urethane 900 global ball?
Ooh, and I know why Matt's asking this, because during the Logo Infusion Ron Moore's tournament, I used the urethane on short, medium, and long. It was kind of enjoyable, but my favorite non-urethane ball right now would probably have to be the Volt Solid, or would actually probably be the Vitality as well. That ball, I averaged 260 on the first 2-3 games, both of qualifying. Unfortunately, the transition got me at the World Series, but that ball was money. Like, I loved everything about it. The smoothness, the continuation, the way it just reads on the lane. I put very little surface on the ball, and it's a huge, very strong ball. So I would say those are my two, like, always in the bag type balls.
Okay. Knowing that, being on global staff, and now we just signed Stephanie Zavala, how do you feel she will fit into our the system with 900 Global?
Honestly, I think the women's tour has had a lot more success than the men's tour. And by that, I'm just saying, when we look at the amount of bowlers and the amount of impact that people can have, I'm not exactly for sure her hometown. Maybe off the top.
Yeah, she's from here, from Downey, California.
Okay. But she does a lot of stuff, from my understanding, across the nation and across, like, globally as well, if I remember correctly. When you can reach out, and I feel for her, the biggest impact is honestly going to be more so off the lanes. She's a younger bowler. She's going to reach out to the younger generation probably a little bit more so than, say, like myself, Chris Barnes, Robert Smith. We can still affect the younger population, but I feel like that blend of having a younger staff and a younger generation, stuff like that, can sometimes be more influential, or kind of be that spark plug for the youth, versus coming from me.
Okay, that's what's up. Do you feel that all ball companies are the same, just different names?
No, and I'm gonna say that. I feel like there's a certain persona when I look, and I'm gonna kind of relate this back to the tour side a little bit. When you see some of the Storm staffers, they kind of have this swagger, kind of about them. It's not a negative swagger, but it's just kind of like, we've been the cream of the crop, and maybe it's that they have the most staffers or whatever, hence why they seem to have more success. It could be the product. A lot of it's the talent. When you look at the same guys over and over and over, guess what? Those guys are the cream of the crop. They rise to the top. Like they say, cream will always rise to the top. I think you could probably put a square and handful of, Jason Belmonte's hands. You could probably put a hexagon, in Chris Barnes' hand, and they're still going to figure out the way to make it work. Barnes has had success on both ends with, two different companies. Belmonte, he's been with just one. But when you start looking across the board, those certain guys that can make certain things work, I think ultimately we're trying to promote the same thing. We just go about it in a different way.
Okay, that's what's up. As far as bowling, what is your biggest fear when you step out there?
My biggest fear is actually the failure of myself. And what I mean by that is, when I get up there and I know, hey, I have a look, I have a 260-ish look, hence all I have to do is make good shots, execute, and whatnot. That is the fear that I have. Hey, I have a lane that is gravy, and all I have to do is do this one thing. Don't tug it, don't grab it, don't do this, just let the ball do its work. And hence, when I start making mistakes or when I start getting frustrated, hey, I threw a good shot, bad break. Okay, I can live with it. Now, if I get 2 bad breaks, now that kind of sits there and it's like, is this me or is this the lane? And I start kind of second guessing. And then something that second guessing is what is ultimately my downfall. And then hence everything just kind of spirals down from there. So.
Okay. What were your thoughts when you first seen Mr. Bowtie here bowl in New Mexico?
Honestly, first of all,
honestly,
first of all, he has great fashion. He's original. When I first saw you, I actually didn't see you during qualifying. The first time I saw you was when you and I bowled head to head in the first round.
Right.
I think if I remember correctly, I was up on you after game one, and I was kind of sitting there like, this bow tie, this is unique. This is different, like no one wears a bow tie anymore, type thing. But then when hi, Mr. Paul, but then as we started bowling, you came back and I'm like, how is this guy? Like, who is this guy? Where is he from? Like, I don't know anything about this guy. I've never heard his name. Like, who is this guy? And then you came back and actually beat me in that first round. And then obviously I went on, won the second round, came back. But then when I watched you get into the finals, I'm kind of sitting there, and your style is its own. You don't use your thumb. At least that I remember. You don't use your thumb,
right?
And yet you are very accurate. You're like Tom Doherty in a way, in my opinion. Okay. You don't use your thumb, but yet you were able to repeat shots. You were able to execute. You had very few opens and so forth, so on. And then obviously when you bowled Chris Barnes in the finals, like that was not a give me by any stretch of the imagination. You pushed him, and you weren't able to. Wow, Paul, I love you, man. I love you to death.
Oh man!
But when you bowled Barnes, you pushed him to the limit. He needed to strike, I believe, in the field ball to beat you by one.
Yeah,
so,
man.
You know what? And that was not an easy match by any means. There was bad breaks by both sides. There was, little errant shots here and there. But again, that's what New Mexico is. It's a grind. Normally it's a grind. So
right.
You shoot 210, you're huge. You shoot 220, you're the man.
Yep.
You can't expect to be shooting 260s every game because that style and that format and everything else does not allow it. Mike Miller, when he puts out the pattern, it is not an easy pattern. This last year was a little bit higher scoring than normal, I think. But, that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, no, that was, man, bowling that year, dude. I didn't really know a lot of people, and I just came in to bowl. And when first of all, me even getting there was even crazy, And yes, look, you see this right here? He'll tell you. Dude, and I'm like, and then he goes up there and missed the 10 pin. I was like, really? Like, okay. Then I was like, but I missed so many spares, dude. And it was like the nerve. So when I'm telling you, I turn it on and I watch it on YouTube. I still get nervous, even knowing I know the outcome. But dude, like bowling against you, I was like, who is this guy? I don't know who this guy is. I'm thinking you some PBA guy. I was just like, whatever. And I just kept going. I didn't care who I bowled. It was just like, I'm going to make it happen. I don't care what goes on. I'm going to just do what I do.
Exactly. And honestly, that to me is the best approach right there. Is it doesn't matter who you bowl. It doesn't matter, you could have bowled against the entire PBA field. You know what? Going in there and it doesn't matter. It can happen to anyone at any given time.
Right.
And that's the attitude to have anytime you bowl a tournament.
Yeah. Dude, so look, man, what is it? Tell us something before we get out of here. Something about Chad that no one knows, man.
That no one knows. Honestly,
oh yeah,
I am a great cook. I love to barbecue. Anything in the kitchen. If you ask me to bake, not a chance. But if you ask me to cook, I'm very good at cooking. Done a little bit with the volunteer fire department. I love cooking at home. It's actually kind of one of my passions right now. I want to learn how to be better. You give me a grill, a smoker, anything like that. Yeah. I'll put a smoker on for 8.5 hours, do a prime rib, and be fall off the bone type. That to me is the big passion I have right now. So give me a little bit of barbecue, a little bit of Italian. Chinese is a little touch right now and stuff, but you give me those others, and I can definitely come up with a good concoction. So,
hey, y'all see that? Craig, Matt, Paul, y'all hear that? We all going to Chad's house so we can all eat, and just make sure you got something to drink there for us too.
Well, hopefully you like Jack, because that's the only thing that's on my menu is Jack and Jack. So
No, I don't like Jack. I do not like Jack. But no, dude. Hey, Chad, dude, I appreciate it, man. Appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you, just sharing your story. Seriously, bro.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for what you're doing. We're getting to visit with people from kind of all across. Here's some backgrounds, here's some stories. Obviously, everyone has an experience to share, and whether it's good, bad, and different, I definitely think that's something special. And I appreciate it, especially during these times. Bringing some positivity to kind of a negative aspect right now. So much appreciated, my brother.
Oh, not a problem, bro. And like I said, man, I'm sure we still on for doubles in October?
Yep, October 6th, I believe it is, 5th and 6th or something like that. So,
all right, you're gonna have to hold me up just to let you know.
Hey, you know what? You're bowling as much as I am right now, so we got a month to get ahead of the curve. I watched Matt. I don't know if Matt's still watching or not, but if he is, I've been watching him play a little bit in his house, so I don't know if he's put holes in the wall yet or not, but hopefully he's getting a little bit more practice than what we are. So,
oh yeah. So look, man, Chad, appreciate you, bro. Hey, be safe out there, and like I said, from myself, I do appreciate what you do with the paramedics, man. That I know that's a tough job, and coming home, and trust me, dude, we know. So, like I said, from the bottom of our heart, we just want to say thank you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And everyone stay safe out there. Yep. Love your loved ones, and take care of each other. So,
absolutely, man. Hey, be safe, bro, and I'll holler at you later.
Take care, Brian.
All right, peace, bro. Hey, guys, that was my boy Chad from, he likes to say lives in Vegas, but he's about to move to Arizona. Tomorrow is the day that my boy David, a.k.a. Jello Gray, is coming to the show. Boy, have y'all questions ready. We're going to be on here for about an hour. I know, because we got a lot to talk about. It's going to be fun. It is going to be fun and interesting at the same time. The things you don't know, the things you want to know. Tune in. But like I said, be safe. Love your loved ones. Tell them you love them. Hug them. Kiss them. Do whatever you got to do. Listen to what's going on. I don't care if they're opening up stuff. Stay your butts at home. Just because they open it up, man, it's not going to be the same. All right? But look, you guys be safe, man. Bowtie out. Peace. Love you guys.